Hey everyone, welcome back to Williamson Ridge Outdoors. Today we're standing at the back of our 2023 Chevy Silverado 2500 with the Duramax diesel because I want to talk a little bit about the DEF fluid. Now, not so much about what brands or anything like that, but about quality of DEF fluid, because a lot of these trucks are very sensitive in their electronic systems and their sensors and stuff throughout this DEF system, that if you get a low quality of DEF fluid, or a DEF fluid that has not enough urea content, then your truck can, throw codes and check engine lights and that kind of stuff, and you'll get messages saying to service the emission system or service the DEF system. I kind of want to go through a real quick, easy way today to kind of show you, to at least help eliminate some of those problems. So one big thing, people wonder, when you buy DEF fluid off the shelf, is it fresh? Because these do have a shelf life, and you're supposed to use it within 12 months of manufacturing date. And also you're supposed to store it to where that sunlight cannot get to it. So, if it's in your garage or something and there's not by a window, then that should be perfectly fine and it should last 12 months. But how long has this been sitting on the shelf in the store? Because I've been to some stores and they've got dust and stuff collected on top of the box. So how do you know whether you're getting fresh DEF fluid or not? And then if you go to a truck stop where they actually sell DEF fluid through the pump, you think, well, that's actually supposed to be fresher because they go through an abundance of it. They really cycle through it and keep it fresh all the time. But the problem I have with that is that according to my Chevy owner's manual, it's supposed to have this certification on it, which is the ISO 22241 certification, in order to run it in this truck. I've looked online, I've searched multiple websites, gas companies' websites, like Speedway, for instance, and, I have not been able to find anywhere that they say what their DEF fluid is rated at, or if it's ISO certified or not. So with that being said, there is a device that you can test your DEF fluid in order to make sure that you have the correct urea content. These trucks and stuff are so sensitive, you're supposed to have it within a certain range, and you're not supposed to go above it and you're not supposed to go below it. The point of this video is to share something with you today that's not very expensive and something you can do yourself at home. You can do it if you're at the truck stop. They actually make a tester for DEF to measure the urea content in it. So what I've decided to do is I'm not going to worry so much about where and when I'm purchasing it. I'm just going to test it to make sure that before I put it in the truck, it is up to the standards that it's supposed to be. According to the directions on this thing, it is simple to use, and it basically says that if you have 2 discs in here floating, as you can see, there's actually some little discs in here. If there's 2 discs floating, then you're good to go. If there's 3 discs, you've got to change your fluid. If there's 1 or 0 discs, you're also supposed to not use it. So the only time that it's safe to actually use the DEF fluid is whenever you have 2 discs floating. We're going to try this tester out. I have not used this yet, so I have no experience using it. We're going to kind of learn and do this together. I don't think this is long enough to actually reach into the tank on the vehicle. Maybe on some vehicles it could be, and you could actually test what's in your vehicle. But this one is not. So, my plan is, like I say, I'm going to test this. Anytime I'm going to put DEF fluid in, I'm going to test it before I put it in. So if you've wondered about whether it's safe to use truck stop DEF, then this may be a good way for you to find out if the truck stops in your area is carrying good, fresh, and up to spec DEF fluid. So I'm going to go ahead and open this and test this jug out and make sure that it is up to par where it should be. I did buy this box and it had quite a bit of dust on the top of it. So I'm actually curious to see whether this is good DEF fluid or not, or whether it's out of date. So this is real easy to test according to the tester. The instructions just say that we're going to stick the end of the hose down in there. We're going to squeeze this a couple times, bring the level of the DEF fluid up to this line, and then we're going to see how many discs are floating. Okay, so let me share with you what I've learned here so far. So like I was saying, I've not tried this tester out myself before this video. And whenever I first pulled the DEF fluid up into the tester, I was only having one disc float all the way up to the top. And then the second one was floating a little bit, but then it looked like it was kind of stuck on the inside of the container and like was hanging up. So I thought, well, maybe, I don't know, maybe the DEF fluid is bad, you know, and so I got a different one to check because they were purchased at 2 different times and they are 2 different brands. And so I thought, well, I'll check it. So I tested it the same exact way and got the same exact result with it. What I found out about it is that when you go to test this, if you create a little turbulence inside the tester, you don't be real easy on it. You just kind of squeeze it and let it suck up in there. Then that'll actually kind of get that disc unstuck from the side of the tester. The way these things are flat, they tend to stick right on the, you know, the flat surface on the inside there. They kind of hang up on that and won't actually move. Let me show you the results now. If you create that little bit of turbulence in there and get that ball to unstick, you'll see a different result. So as you can see now, you know, I kind of moved that around and created some movement inside there, and both of these discs are floating fine. They come right up to the top with that movement, and you can kind of slosh them, move them around a little bit, and you can see that second ball or that second disc comes right up and floats with the other one. And you can see the blue one down here actually sinks back down to the bottom every time, even though it might kind of come up from the hose pulling the fluid in. So that's how you get your accurate test, is you create that movement inside there to get those discs and to keep them from sticking to the sides of the tester. And you can see that they'll go, you can squeeze the DEF out and let it come right back in, and both discs will float right back up to the top. So that tells me that we've got 2 discs floating, and it is at OEM recommendation of 32.5% urea content, and that this DEF should be perfectly fine to use in our truck. So I'm also going to do it in the Peak Blue DEF just to see if our results are the same. And you can see that both the discs are floating. And again, if I squeeze all that all the way out and I let this DEF fluid come in there easily, none of them will float. So you've got to create that little bit of turbulence there to get these things to come loose and to be able to move around freely. And you can see how I just squeezed it, pushed it down, let it suck back up, and the other 2 floated, even though the blue one is still staying down here at the bottom. And like I say, we'll do that again. If you bring it in easy, so you might get one of them to float, but then the other one, even though it'll float, it's stuck on this container, and I've pecked on it and everything and cannot get that to come loose. When you get done testing, you're supposed to take this and rinse it out with distilled water. That way you keep all the remnants and you keep this thing from crystallizing inside, and that way it'll be ready for the next time you need it. So now that we got that tested, I feel very confident in, you know, buying this stuff even at sale prices or whatever, that it is still a good urea content and that it is safe to put in my Chevy Duramax. So I was really reluctant about buying diesel exhaust fluid from the truck stop pumps, even though, I mean, the truck stop should be in there cycling through that stuff a lot, and it should really be some of the freshest diesel exhaust fluid that you can find, because they cycle through it so much. But the problem I had with it was actually trying to find some sort of a certification saying that it was ISO certified or whatever in order to make me feel safe about putting it in my truck. In most cases, it is a whole lot cheaper than buying it in the boxes like this or the 2.5 gallon jugs. But now I can feel confident in using these, whether they're off the shelf or wherever, because I have that tester, and it's such an inexpensive item. You know, I think every diesel owner should probably have one of these if you use diesel exhaust fluid. I think it's under 10 bucks. I'll leave a link in the description below in case you'd want to pick one of these up. It is an Amazon affiliate link, so I'll get a small commission off of that. Any of the proceeds goes back into bringing content like this to the channel. And hopefully this helps somebody out today, because this is something that, you know, has weighed on my mind about buying a new diesel truck and trying to make sure that I keep it up and do the correct things in order to make it last a long time and make sure that I don't have problems out of my DEF system. So I think this is just one more step in trying to head off problems before they happen, a little bit of preventative maintenance, so to speak, at a pretty inexpensive cost. It just takes you a couple minutes to test it and 10 bucks for a tester. So if you enjoyed today's video, I appreciate you hitting that thumbs up button. Thanks for following along, and we'll see you on the next one.